Hey guys, welcome back. This is a quick grumbling about a book episode. So I finished a book. I finished two books actually. One of them was really good, and the other one was okay, but spawned a grumble. And one that I'm going to grumble about here, and then move on. So the one that's getting grumbled about, remember this guy from TBR? Okay. So this book is called Holy Terror in the Hebrides. And this is what I was reading for a couple of the reading sprints that I followed along on this past weekend. It's by Jeanne M. So it was a good book. It turned out there wasn't a murder. Yay. The bit that I had issues with is why this is a short video. This is just a Jamie needs to grumble about a book. And very few people I know in real life are going to care. Probably nobody watching this is going to care either, so I don't expect a lot of views on this one. But so in this book, there's a possible murder. And the main characters, it's kind of a cozy mystery. We already know all the possible people that could have done it. They're all stuck in the same place. Not quite closed room because they're on an island and they can move around, but they're stuck on that island. There's a storm. Similar to And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie in that respect. But a group of Chicagoan religious figures, so not necessarily religious leaders, but people that were qualified to win this prize in a trip to Scotland, are all traveling together to this little Scottish island of Iona. And they're staying in an inn where our main character is also staying. She is supposed to be there with some friends, but they had to cancel at the last minute, and so they insisted she had to take their reservation. So she's there by herself and gets drawn into their drama. So everybody's a Christian except one. It's supposed to be a Christian retreat sort of thing. But somehow a rabbi got offered a spot at the last minute when somebody else had to cancel. So his name is Jake. He doesn't quite fit in with the rest of them, but it's not really along religious lines. He's kind of nice, and most of the others are awful. Like the kind of people that you really hope you don't have to sit next to on a bus. Horrible people. In their own special ways. So one of the horrible people dies, and while our main character is trying to figure out who did it, she decides it had to have been Jake. Not because he was in the right place at the right time that he would be the most logical murderer, but simply because, having talked to him about, his faith and why he's there and some of his backstory, she finds out that he is really an atheist. That things have happened in his life that make it really hard for him to maintain his faith anymore. So she's decided, because he is an atheist, that his moral code now is no longer something that would prevent him from murdering. That is why she lands on him as her prime suspect. And I finished the book anyway, but yeah, that definitely got me bristling. So just gotta say, if you have BS against atheists as one of your triggers, this book may get you really mad. It turns out okay. She never apologizes for that assumption about him when it turns out that he didn't do it. Which, if you were reading along, you're like, why would you think he did it? So it's not a huge spoiler that he didn't do it. It didn't make sense that she thought that he did it. but she never apologizes to him for assuming he's a murderer because he's an atheist. So, that is my rant. Otherwise, it was an okay book. It's probably about 4 stars on Goodreads. On my own 10-point scale, probably about a 5.6 or 5.7. So the math between the two scales doesn't add up very nicely. I will admit that. If it's in the 5s, it should be closer to a 3 on Goodreads, but you can't do partial stars. So I would round up to 4 stars on Goodreads. On my own scale, I was originally doing a 10-point scale, and then I started doing the first decimal place. So I really have 100 points I can assign, not just 10, because I have that decimal place. So within the 5s, it can be anywhere from a 5 to a 5.9, and that gradation of rating means something. And it also allows me to make differences between books when I'm in a bad mood, so I don't feel like anything is higher than a 6, but okay, this one was better than that one, so it gets a higher 6, that kind of thing. I'm sure I will explain my rating system more and more often as I go along. By the way, the light that is behind me, that's a window that you couldn't really see the light that was glaring in on me before, because I moved a little shelf. I'm still moving, slowly, gradually, to a house a couple houses down up the alley. And that little shelf is something I literally can carry up the alley. So it's in the next group of things that I'm going to be moving to the new place today. But yeah, I'm going to have to figure out something to mitigate that bright window light coming in, because this is still one of the only spots I can do filming in. There are only, part of the reason I'm moving, there are only a couple outlets in the entire house where I'm at now that actually work. Some of them kind of sort of work, but I don't trust them, and I don't want to burn the house down while I'm still in it. So there's definitely issues with the electricity in this place. And my computer is dying. Well, not dying. There's a glitch with the batteries that they use in Chromebooks that apparently has been going on for a while. There's, information online about, what it is and how to deal with it. And I need to get a new battery, because the batteries they use, as they age, the batteries that Chromebooks use, as they age, they emit a gas that causes the battery to expand. And if it's in a computer case, it causes the computer case to expand. And that's what's happening to my laptop. And it's gotten to a point where, between that and the fact that the battery is aging in the first place, I really have to have my computer plugged in order to use it, because the battery runs down so quickly. So there are only a few spots where I'm living now where I can actually set up and record a video. And I'm lucky that I have the outlet that I have, and that I'm able to get up and down off the floor, because I'm sitting on the floor right now. I'm hoping when I get to the new place there will be much better setups available. I'll still have to figure out internet, because right now I'm using an internet service through a program for very poor people that I'm not sure if I'll be eligible to continue to receive service through that where I'm going, because I'll be living in somebody else's house as a kind of live-in housekeeper. I'm not sure if we're going to have to figure out how to get their internet working better instead of being able to bring my access to internet with me. So I'm not sure how that works. I'm a very poor person, and without programs like this, I wouldn't be making videos at all. I'm sure this will come up again, probably when I talk about Dickens, because I have 2 more Dickens novels to read. And when I talk about Dickens, we'll talk more about how I'm still alive and things like that. The other book I finished is End of Watch by Stephen King. This is one I started yesterday morning. And it's been a while since I read a book where I started and finished it within 24 hours. This one, I started it yesterday morning and finished it before bedtime yesterday. So it was pretty good. It's a different experience being able to stay in a book that long without moving on to something else from boredom or, whatever. And it is about a 400 some page book. So yeah, that was pretty good. This one is definitely a sequel. If you haven't read Mr. Mercedes and Finders Keepers, you might want to read them first, because the characters, Bill Hodges and Holly, they develop through these books. And it's really heavily about those two characters, not just about the bad guy. And actually the bad guy is also a character that's developed through especially Mr. Mercedes. So don't read End of Watch until you've read the book Mr. Mercedes at the very least, because it will make this one make more sense. As long as you've read Mr. Mercedes first, this was a good book. And I do like how Stephen King finishes off his aging characters, at least in this one. And I actually started the audiobook of Stephen King's Holly, which is continuing on from this one. So I'm hoping that I will continue to enjoy this storyline as it progresses. Yeah, so that was very good. And I am currently reading, totally change of pace, this one, The Fossil World. This is like, I don't think it was a Time Life book, but it reminds me of the Time Life books. It's a bit older, but the nice thing about fossils is they're really old. So the difference between the age of this book and a modern book and the, age of the fossils is so huge. A lot of what they're saying in here is still more or less true. And true enough that I was able to identify my little trilobite that I got from a rock sale in the chapter where they're introducing trilobites. So pretty cool information. I am a total ecology and ecobiology nerd. So this actually for me is one of my fun books. I know some of my friends that read would consider this to be torture if they had to actually read it cover to cover. But yeah, this is one of my fun ones. Although, I might keep it actually, because it does have some good information, at least until I get a more modern version of the same book. So, not necessarily the same author, of course, but just something that covers fossils with pictures and diagrams and like a textbook, but readable. But until then, I might end up keeping this one for a while. I am a fan of minimalism. So, while, as you can see behind me, I'm not that much of a minimalist, I love at least the idea of having less stuff so that it's easier. And I suppose I've been a fan of minimalism for long enough that with this move, I at least don't have so much stuff that it's impossible to mostly move my things by literally carrying them up the alley. So things are better than they could be. Some rooms are going to be fairly easy. It'll probably take like 3 or 4 boxes total to move the rest of my kitchen, and maybe another box and a half to move everything that's in the bathroom. And that's not just bathroom stuff. It's like kitten rescue stuff. And so it could be a lot worse. My book collection is obviously going to be one of the big things. And my yarn collection, but yarn is lightweight. If I didn't keep my yarn in big plastic tubs, it would be easier because they're a bit awkward for me to move up an alley. But if I just load them in a car and they're lightweight, they're just bulky. So, I think next year I may be not entirely doing the read what you own sort of challenge. I've been watching a lot of videos that talk about that kind of thing, and Just because of my personal economics, I really don't want to not acquire books when it's possible for me to acquire books, because I may not get those opportunities again, and I don't think my economic situation is going to change that much in the next year. So, reading what I own without acquiring books, probably not. But reading what I own as a priority is definitely going to be a thing. And I don't keep most of the books I read after I've read them. So that will decrease my collection quite a lot. I've partly just had a lot of good windfalls of books. So I have a lot of books I've acquired over the past 2 years that I haven't read all of yet. And sometimes they're in series, and I won't read series out of order if I can help it. Anyway, this is getting a lot longer than a quick update on my reading. So I'm going to leave that there. I will probably do a vlog later, and it will probably not be based around the war in Israel. So the last couple of vlogs after I recorded them, I decided, well, given the inflammatory nature of this subject, I'm just not going to post these. I'll just leave them as private and keep them for my own personal benefit later on. But I will probably do a vlog that's actually available for the public, for any people that actually want to see my vlogs. But until then, I will let you guys move on to the next video and catch you later. Bye, guys!